And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. I'm Joe DeLeone. With me is my co-host Sean Anderson, 2 former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. We're a little bit late, but Tuesday we're here for the Week 7 recap. A lot happened, a lot of blowouts, lots to get to. Sean, before we do that, can you share with our listeners where they can make a little money this upcoming Week 8?
That would be Bet Online. 2 big boy bets hit in a row on the last 2 prime time NFL games. And you can bet if I cooked in the kitchen, I'm going to hear about it somehow by my roommate, regardless.
Hey, chat,
I am
chat,
in
let
a
me know,
room.
chat, let me know if it's unreasonable to ask your roommate to clean up the egg bits off the stove. Let me know.
I'm in the middle of a read, please.
Okay.
There was an interjection point.
You made it.
Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup, breakdown, even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. You know, we got football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, political props, all that you can bet on. When the game's over, head on over to their online casino, get in on a game of blackjack, poker, 150 slots games, whatever you want there. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here.
By the way, make sure you don't miss out on our Wednesday shows. We're probably going to be doing it at a slightly different time this coming Wednesday, but I am 77% correct on my NFL picks. We went 3-0 again last week.
How'd your college do?
Oh, no. Don't you drag me down. No,
do?
you can't drag me down. I'm still leading in college, first of all. Second of all,
you've had a miracle NFL run, which is great.
No, I'm on a trajectory where I've built enough of a cushion. I've built enough of a cushion that my run and my reign will be unstoppable. There's no taking me down. I was as much of a dick about it as I possibly could, and it did not create any jinx whatsoever.
Did you see the fix being in all game last night during the Monday Night Football game?
Yeah, it was
fixaroo, fix city. I'm sitting here, Josh Allen saved me, and he did, thank God.
Well, I would argue that a lot of the fixing kind of felt like the refs had bet on Buffalo.
What?
Yeah, there were a lot of calls that were pretty favorable in Buffalo's direction.
It was a ref fest,
yeah.
But that roughing the passer call was the most insane thing I've ever seen. And Aaron Rodgers, he won me back, though.
He's a crippled old man.
He won me back by saying that shouldn't have been called.
We're here to talk FCS, though, folks. We have a lot. The water cooler today is going to be long. We got to get through all these. We've got one game that we're going to break down, but I don't want to miss any of these headlines because there is an insane amount to get through. I'm going to start us off here with Missouri State with a huge, stout win, 41-7 over Illinois State. I don't know for certain if Missouri State, where they fit 1,000% in this national conversation, but the way that they played against Montana caught my eye early on in the year. I think that Missouri State maybe has some juice. I don't know if it's a rankable juice, but this has been a program that's been in and out quality. I don't think, though, because of their move up, we need to have them in that full conversation, but this is a tough loss for Illinois State.
Yeah, I think we've kind of been avoiding speaking about the teams that are not going to be participating in the playoffs or in the rankability stuff, because then Delaware.
A lot of people keep asking about Delaware, and it's
why would I?
No opinion.
If I can't rank Delaware, we're not going to.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good. It's a fine team. Missouri State is good, and definitely exceeding expectations that I had for them before they decided to move up. Illinois State, though, a team that has been scrappy up and down all year. And you're kind of 18 to 25 range ballot. They can stay on it. They can hang. And they keep dropping weird losses and bad losses also. You need to get double-digit points. 7 points against Missouri State is really not fortunate for Illinois State. So I'm pretty sure they fell off my ballot entirely this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty low on Illinois State after this is an ass-kicking. I understand that this is, again, a team that's moving up to Conference USA, but you can't get smoked this badly by a team that was previously in your conference. Butler, shit, 27-17 versus Drake. I don't know why I let myself talk myself into a Pioneer League team. And yeah, I get it. I made this whole stink last week of it's hard to be 5-0 and undefeated. And my whole argument was there's G5 teams They go on these runs. Like Navy is a perfect example. Army, people are discussing them as possibly rankable teams at the FBS level. They haven't played anyone. They haven't beaten anyone, but they still have undefeated records. It's hard to be undefeated. Well, you know what? They decided to lose to Drake. Drake loves to just be that random know-nothing team pulling out the win whenever they feel like it, 27-17. I'm not even talking about Butler for the rest of the year. I'm not talking about the Pioneer League for the rest of the year. Get some freaking scholarships.
Hey, Drake has put together a sneaky good season. First in the Pioneer League right now. They beat Ewu.
I don't care.
I don't care. They got a mud hole stomped in them by South Dakota. They beat San Diego, Valpo, and now Butler, another one of the victims falling to the stout Drake football team. Yeah, that's tough.
If you told me they beat Georgia, I still wouldn't care.
It's a little bit of a kiss of death here. And I've been on that same side of the aisle many times, deciding to rank a team just because it's time. Their resume works it, in my opinion, and then they immediately go out and lose to someone embarrassing. So, yeah, good for you, Drake. Bad for you, Butler.
This was the week of the blowout as, first of all, South Dakota State wallops Youngstown State 63-13. The Penguins were awfully chilly. This is true dominance. And this is what gets like really confusing because there's 3 number 1 teams effectively right now. There's no wrong answer. Like, so serious. It's 1A, 1B, 1C. And I think even by delineating that far, it makes it sound like we're still ordering them. They're all tied for first. I wish there was a way for me to put that on my ballot, but all 3 teams are tied for first. They've all played fantastic football. I'm talking about Montana State and North Dakota State as well.
Yeah, this is another very dominant win for South Dakota State. Jackrabbits ran for 404 yards and 4 touchdowns. It seems like they're just doing it better than everybody else. Chase Mason, 5 carries, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns.
5?
Yeah, I don't know what they do. They have these running backs that just go in and they run for touchdowns every time they touch the rock. The Voorhees did that a couple weeks ago. They got a stable. They got a real deal stable at South Dakota State. And I like your point. I've never argued with anybody else so far this year if I've seen North Dakota State at 1, Montana State at 3, South Dakota State at 1, North Dakota State at 3. It is truly 3 premier programs.
He's listed as a quarterback.
Well, he got it done. He was toting it.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess he's the South Dakota State Cole Payton. But okay, to this point, though, they've got this ridiculously deep backfield that they can just turn to dudes to put up ridiculous production. That is bonkers insane. North Dakota State, though, they also had their own big win, 24-3. We touched on this a little bit already, that the SIU's played themselves out of the playoff picture and just the rankable conversation because of the injuries that they dealt with early on. They're off the map. 5 sacks for North Dakota State. This defense continues to remind us how freaking good they are. Yeah,
the defense was strong. Cam Miller played in this one. He went 18 for 24, $193 and a touchdown. I know there was some concern about his ankle. He did not run the rock as much this game, smartly so. He only had 3 carries, which is fine, as it should have been. And then Cole Payton had another 3. So they just decided to kind of put the ease on the running quarterback, and they knew that they could take care of the Salukes, and they did. But yeah, keeping that guy healthy is paramount. He is a difference maker in the FCS. He is a massive piece to that North Dakota State machine, which has come a long way between it becoming the machine and he's just running the offense, managing it. No, he is a vital piece to North Dakota State winning as many games as they have.
This is a blowout, but in an unexpected manner. Incarnate Word, 55-10, reminding us of why they were deserving of being in that top 15 conversation. Whooping Nichols. Who would have thought? Nichols showed us a little bit of life against LSU. They showed us a little bit of something. They were making it on some ballots, and boom, 5 touchdowns for Zach Calzada. Get out of here, Nichols. Come on in, Incarnate Word.
I was high on Nichols this year. I thought they had some really strong offensive pieces. Guggenheim's a certified running back. McQuaid has been solid, but Incarnate Word, they dropped the goofy one, and now they're showing what they can do. If this is a team that's locked in, they got big, tall receivers that can go get it, and Zach Calzada keeps on loading up the stats. I mean, 5 touchdowns in this game is ridiculous. Nichols needs to put up a better fight. I believe I left him off also. 55-10 is not top 25 material, especially seeing how vulnerable Incarnate Word can be at times on defense. But yeah, Incarnate Word, huge win.
That Mercer defense continues to flex its muscles. 34-7 over Princeton. It doesn't matter if you're smart. The nerds get their butts kicked. TJ Moore, 3 picks, forced, not TJ Moore, but the Mercer defense forced 6 total turnovers. They're on an ungodly run, and I'm praying for any team. Wait, we should come up with a stupid name for this defense. Like, what was the one that the Colgate defense had? It was like the red blanket. Yeah, which was lame as. What if we just did the orange blanket and we just pivoted?
What was FAMU's? FAMU's, were they the black hole, or they had a sick name for their defense?
I forget what it was.
Yeah, we'll workshop something for Mercer. But yeah, if it's simply the orange blanket, that works because they are insane. They hold Princeton under 200 total yards, offense scoring points. Princeton is not hold on. Princeton, an Ivy League team, is not a traditional slouch, which pains me to say. But they have had very good offensives in previous years, and Mercer's defense just continues to exploit any weaknesses or flaws that you have. They are incredibly legit.
Stephen F. Austin knocks off Lamar. I have no idea if Stephen F. Austin's any good, but this is more telling of Lamar. I believe I took them completely off of my bracket or off of my ballot because of. I mean, this is just not a great win. The resume was already pretty weak. They got smoked by Vidlock, who has been a quality quarterback at the FCS level. But Lamar, you've done nothing. You're off the top 25 ballot.
Yeah, I never ranked Lamar. I will never rank Lamar until they show me that they're not Lamar. We have been watching this team, and we've seen the hype rise, and we've seen the hype fall off a cliff very instantly. Everyone that ranked Lamar, this is what you get. You get bit in the ass and they lose to SFA. This was a ranked team. I saw people had him at 20. I saw people had him at 18. No, Lamar's not good. They weren't good this year. You just didn't have the balls to put Duquesne on your lists. Cowards.
Get right week for Montana as they beat NAU 31-20. Some people were chiming in the comments saying that NAU was like a quality opponent. I still don't think that they should have been ranked last week. I don't know who should have gone over them.
Duquesne.
We're quickly reminded that they do not have the resume to be a ranked team. But Montana, get right week against still a tough opponent. And this is a good bounce back situation as their defense played a lot better, only allowing 20 points.
Yeah, it wasn't a crazy offensive explosion. 200 yards, a touchdown. I mean, Gilman and Osmo just do what Gilman and Osmo do, combining for 150 yards on 29 carries. I love that. 29 pass attempts, 29 carries. Montana finding some balance, controlling the pace of the game. I think a big reason why they maybe scored points and also had so many points scored on them is they weren't controlling their pace. And if they have the ability to go hurry up, score a lot of points, but I don't think their defense is very strong when put in that situation. So if they could just grind teams out like a typical Montana team would, then maybe they'll win some more games and stay on track.
The what the hell outcome of the week has to be Northern Alabama beating Abilene Christian 47-34. So not only did they beat them, but they hung 47 points on them. I thought that ACU was on this massive, big run that they were going to string together where they were going to push their way towards being a top 10 team, maybe earning a bye. But nope, quickly reminded that they are human and that there is just so much wrong that can happen any week in the FCS, and ACU is the latest victim of that.
They made terrible mistakes, so many penalties. Abilene Christian did, and they couldn't cover a read option. And TJ Smith picked them apart. The quarterback from North Alabama picked them apart on the read option. If he made the right call, pulled the ball, there wasn't like a secondary leak option for a linebacker to cover him. Maybe just in case he does pull it. He was fast enough. He was strong enough. Running through the ACU defense. Obviously, we have not been praising the ACU defense for being the strength of the team, but good God, 47 points to North Alabama. That's really not good. And ACU was ascending. They were a team with a good quarterback and a really good offense. They could run the ball, but they made too many mistakes in this game. They just couldn't dig themselves out of the hole. What the fat hell, ACU?
EWU does it again, 35-28. They are able to take out Sac State. I have no idea what's going on in the Big Sky outside of Montana State. I think that this is a cannibalistic conference that's just going to keep beating the shit out of itself. But great win for Iwu, who has picked themselves off the mat after a little bit of a slow start.
Yeah, it wasn't even a massive Iwu stat game. Like, it wasn't Vesperis and Chisholm third, like, popping off. It was just Sac State being stupid Sac State, and I fell into that trap. I took them off my pole. Go screw Sac State. That's really tough because Iwu is a team that would be a good resume win. It would be because they're competitive and they fight. But you should be able to beat them if you're Sac State. Sac State has the players. They have the defense. They have the offensive line. And it's just Big Sky nonsense. You can never fully – every year, Joe, they do this. It feels like every year that we start getting a little bit high on Sac State or we're ready for them to make a deep run, they do some stupid stuff like this. They lose to Iwu. No, you're not on my ballot. You won't be back on the ballot. You're at the bottom of the Big Sky right now. Embarrassing loss. Good for Iwu. Way to stick it to them, those frauds.
Dartmouth continues their undefeated run as they rallied down 30-7 against Yale, and they won 44-43 in overtime. I think this Dartmouth team has some juice to it. It's got a legitimate shot to finish as the best Ivy League team and maybe finish with a ranked position in the top 25 poll. But, man, they're finding ways to win even when they're down big points.
Gosh, you have to imagine those Ivy Leaguers really celebrated and only took a 90-minute study session after the game. That is an impressive win, impressive comeback by Dartmouth. They are right now the darling of the Ivies. I think they're sitting at 4-0, which is good. Dartmouth is a fine program, and if the Ivies are open to have a leader, go ahead, Dartmouth. Go ahead and take the ball and run with it.
Couple more here. West Georgia almost knocked off UCA. But UCA got a stop with a 2-point conversion at the very end.
I think in October, football teams need to start hiring like a hockey coach. Just put a hockey coach on staff to show the importance of keeping the legs, of understanding the length of the season. You can't get this close to West Georgia. Central Arkansas has been rolling. They're a good team. You couldn't have dropped this one, or else you're sitting in the same bucket as Sac State. You're sitting in the same bucket as Abilene Christian. If you are a good team, you can't take games off in October. We know how hard it is. We know how the legs feel. We know how sick you are of wearing your knee braces and getting your ankles taped at 5 o'clock in the morning. We can sympathize. But good God, there's some good teams that can make exciting runs. You can't do that if you play yourself out in October. Way to get the win. Good win. It's a win, but way too close for comfort. UCA.
Duquesne, last one, has proven that they're the best team in the NEC as they beat St. Francis 38-7. Darius Fuentes, former teammate of ours, has been killing it. I've got no relationship with him. He still owes me $30. But it's reverse NIL. He owes me $30. We're not going to get into that, but a big win for Duquesne.
Yeah, Duquesne had a good one, and you know what? They're beating up on the teams that they should beat. They beat LIU by 20 plus points. They beat St. Francis by 31 points. They're putting some games together and learning how to win, which is huge. They had a good year last year. It was good. It wasn't great. But now they're starting to really roll. Jamario Clements is a really good back. Joey Isabella's had a really good year at wideout for them. So yeah, the Dukes are doing pretty good so far.
Our last game that we're going to get to, which was the game of the week for the next few minutes, Montana State 38, Idaho 7. Wheels are kind of falling off for Idaho at the moment as they went down, losing Jack Wagner, who was playing quarterback. Josephic stepped in. Montana State has kind of quickly reminded us of who they are and why this year they've bounced back to being the wagon that we're used to seeing them as. 54 rushes, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns on the game for this entire team. And Malott popped off for 11 for 15, 2 scores, and then 11 rushes for 140 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. This team is a prolific rushing attack, and it feels like the difference from last year to this year is that their defense is extremely stout. I was wary that coming into the year with all the departures that they have had, what was going to happen, but Montana State continues to remind us they are as legit of a contender as they've ever been.
I thought that Montana State was going to win this game. You thought Montana State was going to win this game.
I didn't think it was going to be this lopsided.
I didn't think it was going to be 38-7 and 38-0 at one point with Idaho squeaking in a touchdown in garbage time. It was a domination. Malott looks strong. He looks fast. He doesn't look like the season's getting to him with the duration and the hits he's taken, also running the rock. His passing ability looks to be improved. there's a lot to like about this Montana State team, and Idaho is not a slouch. This is a game that everyone's going to sit here and think, wow, Idaho's really washed. Idaho doesn't have the pieces. They've got hit with the injury bug, all right? They're working with two thin, tall quarterbacks out west right now. Not great. They're just too young. They're too raw. They're not really going to start winning big-time games for you. It's tough, but Montana State has been there. They know how to win. They're not giving any opportunity to get upset so far. This game, if they really wanted to, Montana State from 3 years ago, 2 years ago, it would have been much closer. They would have played down to Idaho and their level, how they were playing. They may have let Idaho's defense, which is a good defense, get to them. Idaho, they have a great resume. They still have a really good resume, but it just is too tough to overcome the injuries that they have. And Montana State is just a wagon. How impressive could that team be? I'm not. It's not pat on the back season for me. It's week 7. Okay, as much as verbose and braggadocious as I typically am, I'm not doing victory lap stuff here. It's a really good team.
But more importantly, like the injuries that Idaho's dealing with, it's just like a horrible timing to have to deal with Montana State in this situation. Your offense is already struggling, and it's been an issue for you to this point, and you're down to your third quarterback. It's so problematic that this is where Idaho is. And the thing that sticks about it the most is that Idaho got picked apart in the portal. They have this huge start to the season. They're proving everybody wrong. And just because things not going their way and luck being against them, that's where we are here. That's why they're struggling. It's brutal when you see a good football team with a great head coach, great coaching staff, tough players. They had a really good defense, but they are just in this really brutal spot. I'm sorry to say this, but I think Idaho might be on this trajectory that they're going to miss the playoffs if they continue to struggle like this.
Yeah, and it's hard to say through no fault of their own because sometimes teams win crazy games. But yeah, I'm not down on Idaho for the traditional reasons of why I would be down on a team. It's not that I don't share the same sentiments for Idaho that I would to Butler losing to Drake or to Illinois State dropping that game. It's just a different circumstance and different context. But the farther we move along with this Montana State team, the more impressed I get week after week. They've still only turned in one bad half of football through 7 weeks, and it still wasn't that bad of a half.
Starts saying that you're not going to pat yourself on the back and then proceeding to provide context. Very humble approach to patting yourself on the back. I find
victory laps uncouth.
But you were bullshit. You do them all the time. You also, it's not a victory lap yet.
Yeah,
it's not. It's absolutely not, because like I said at the beginning of the show, there's 3 teams that are all equally as good. I think people would love to make the argument for their team individually, but I don't think that there's much of a separation point between any of these 3 teams, because they all have games against FBS opponents. Montana State's game against an FBS opponent was against a much weaker team, so that was to their advantage. They've all played hard games. They've all maybe slipped up a tiny bit, some more than others, but their best football has been extremely dominant. So I don't think you're going to be proven right until the last week of the season.
I would agree.
Until the national championship.
I know it's going to be tough, but this weekend we are going to have
the marker game.
The marker game, which somehow they find a way to do it every year where it's crazy stakes, great teams. It's going to be a huge one. So FCS fans, don't just start tuning out with the reaction. We got some more cooked up for you later in the week with a big one.
Fat stats.
Yeah, big week. Another big week of fat stats. Not as obese. Can't get out of bed because I'm so fat and I got bed sores type fat stats week. But we got a good amount of participants. Let's kick it off. Arkansas Pine Bluff wide receiver Giovanni Gibson, 9 catches, $183 and a tud. Dayton running back Mason Hackett, 22 carries, 218 yards against Davidson, I believe. LIU running back Ethan Greenwood, 26 carries, 184 yards and a touchdown. Yale quarterback Grant Jordan, 32 for 47, 412 yards, 5 touchdowns, 36 rushing yards, and another touchdown. So that puts him at about 450 total yards and 6 tuds. Alabama A&M quarterback Xavier Lankford, second time on this list, I think, so far this year, 15 for 24 passing, 315 yards, a touchdown. He also threw a pick, but he also ran for 3 touchdowns and 73 yards. Alabama State wide receiver Robert McMinn, great last name, Mr. McMinn, 2 catches, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quick maths here. That's a touchdown, a catch. Southern Utah running back Tarji Lamson. I know you're sick of me here saying his name, but he keeps on putting in fat stats. 34 carries, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. Portland State running back Dante Kacheri, 13 carries, 202 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2 for UC Davis. Buckle it up real quick. The usual suspects. Quarterback Miles Hastings, 27 for 30, 458 yards, and 4 touchdowns. UC Davis running back Lan Larison, 13 carries, 76 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. He caught the ball 6 times for 91 yards. He's a freak. UIW quarterback Zach Calzada, 25 for 33, 270, 5 touchdowns and a pick. Let's close it off with Tommy Touchdown or Touchdown Tommy, whatever the nomenclature is. Montana State quarterback Tommy Mellott, 11 for 15, 121, 2 touchdowns. He ran the ball 11 times, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I'm going to take Hastings in this situation. I mean, 27 of 33 incompletions to go for 458 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, your stupid new stadium, Cal Poly, didn't do ass against Miles Hastings.
Yeah, he's going.
Although I don't think they built that yet, but it's just a shot for no reason.
He's going bonkers this year. I'm going with Robert McMinn from Alabama State. Nutso performance. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns.
Is that really a Nutso performance? He only had 2 long catches.
2 catches.
He kind of got clamped up. He kind of got clamped up.
No, I don't think. No, I'm not saying. He got clamped up.
If you really think about it, they must have just switched DBs, and then there were just 2 missed plays. We don't know the context of these touchdowns.
McMinn, 2 double quarter pounders, 2 McFlurries, fat week.
Okay, remove the 122 for 2 touchdowns. If you saw 2 receptions, one would have assumed that he got clamped up. Would you not?
Go ahead. Keep picking the guy that you just tuned back into the segment for the first name that you heard.
All right, that is nothing.
Right,
I was paying attention to the segment,
sure.
but I immediately tuned out the 2 receptions for 122 words. God forbid I don't need to sit here and listen to just one long sentence from you.
That's what the segment is. It's one long sentence.
At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio, at Hack City Pod. We'll be back. Leave us a 5-star review on audio and also subscribe so you don't miss out. Leave a comment below on YouTube. Sub to the YouTube channel. Thumbs up. We'll talk to you folks later.